You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the January 28th meeting for the Michigan City Sanitary Board. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good afternoon, Michigan City, Indiana, and welcome to the Board of Commissioners meeting of the Michigan City Sanitary District. Instead of having a roll call, I'm going to call meeting to order. Instead of a roll call, just let the record show that Mr. Sperling's here, Ms. Mahone's here, and Mr. Babcock are here, and Mr. Falls and Mr. Werner couldn't be here today. So we have a quorum with 3, and unless somebody has another question on that, we're good to go. All right. Up first is the election of board officers for 2026, and I'm going to call on Mr. Sperling for a suggested slate.
I'd like to suggest the slate for election of board officers: Don Babcock for president, myself, Andy Sperling, for vice president, and Tina Mahone for board secretary.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any other suggestions? I'd suggest the nominations be closed. And with that said, what's the pleasure of the board relative to the slate? Do you want to make a motion to...
Make a motion to accept the slate as presented.
Second.
Okay.
Anyone opposed? I'll signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The election of officers is the same, so
Excellent.
hopefully, even though that was a little bumpy, so we got through it. So,
Yes.
And I would like to turn to now our council. We had an executive committee meeting before this.
Yes, and pursuant to Indiana Code 5-14-1.5-6.1D, there was an executive session that was held just prior to today's meeting, and there was no subject matter discussed during that executive session other than a subject matter that was specified in the public notice, and no final action was taken. If there's any board member that would dissent that certification, please do so now. If not, Mr. President, you can proceed with the meeting.
Any objections? Hearing none, let's move to our standing agenda. The minutes, approval of the executive session meeting on 12/17 and the regular meeting minutes of 12/17 is, what's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the executive session of December 17, 2025, and the regular meeting minutes of the same meeting, December 17, 2025.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Let me ask this for clarification. Since there's only 3 of us, so I actually need to voice a vote.
Voice vote's fine, as opposed to roll call.
No. On this specific, as I go through motion by motion, since I'm used to having not actually voicing a vote as the manager of the meeting, unless it's a tie, or in this case, since there's the quorum is all 3 of us,
Yes.
do I need to express a vote?
Yes, you should. Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
I'm in support also. So just want to clarify that, and I'll start saying aye when I
Yes.
ask for the vote. So, okay, thank you. All right, before I open up for public comments, I just want to clarify, I'd like you to limit your comments in the public to 3 minutes if possible. If you would see something on the agenda you would like to expound upon later in the meeting, we'd like to know that now. Otherwise, we're going to open up for general comments at the meeting and assume that we won't have an open public comment on item by item by item as we go forward. So go open for public comments. Councilman Przybylski.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Michigan City Councilman Don Przybylski. And I'm here this afternoon, 2 things. Number 1, which I think is very important to the city, and especially important to the folks that live in the Lafayette Street area, south to Greenwood Ave, north, I think up here to 8th Street. What I'm talking about is the Lafayette sewer project that was looked at, started approximately 15 to 18 years ago, and it was designed to relieve stormwater pressure in that part of the city. I know the tunnel was put in the ground, and that's where it stopped. Talking to Mr. Wallace, he says that he has informed the superintendent of this project, and they've been talking about it. And possibly at next month's meeting, we're going to have an update on this project. And I think it's a project that has been put on the side table for whatever reason. I know it's kind of a expensive proposition, but it's something that if it wasn't, it was brought up then because it was important. It should be brought up again because it's vitally important to give relief to the residents that live in that part of Michigan City. So I'm glad to see that that's moving forward. The second thing that, if I could ask the attorney where we stand with the litigation with the city of Long Beach. If you can address
Mr. President, can I address that? So obviously we won't get into the full details of the litigation. However, the status is we were able to have some settlement negotiations. We came to terms on the general parameters of a potential settlement. A portion of that settlement involved payments to be made on a monthly basis over the course of the year. Clerk treasurer there is working on the affordability of that, and they've got a deadline of this Monday to respond to that request. So
good.
That's where we stand.
Okay, thank you.
And unless the board has some objection, I think it would be good to get an update on Lafayette, the Parker Lafayette extension. I know, we spent a lot of money to put that in place. I don't need to have that off the cuff today, but I know we considered a couple different options of putting it to use. I would be curious though if the councilman's getting complaints from people that something's not working there.
Oh, have I been getting any?
Complaints from people in the Parker Lafayette area where sewer's not operating or backing up the streets?
I haven't gotten any specific complaints, but I know, there's been flooding on the corners, storm sewers not working properly, people asking me to, and then Mr. Wallace, I think you and Mr. Yagowski came out there and walked, not Lafayette Street. Was that Lafayette? That you guys walked out one day where the flooding was at on the corners?
I think it was York Street.
That was York Street, yeah. But York is only a block away from Lafayette, and it all combines and all hooks up to Lafayette Street. So there's a lot of flooding that does take place, and there's a lot of inner workings that have to be addressed, like curb issues, streets, street widening, things like that need to be addressed along with this project. And I believe that that's all included once this project starts. So, but to answer your questions, I've had probably 3 or 4 in the last
I was just curious.
Yeah.
And I think it's a fair question because there was a big spend by the city and was paid off over a number of years through the redevelopment commission. And I mean, to the tune of, if I recall, is $700,000 or $750,000 a year relative to the bond coverage is, and it impacted our ability to do stuff in the North TIF and some other areas because we had the expense for the project.
Sure.
And so I think it's a good idea to get an update on wherever it's at, and then we can have some deliberations after that.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
any other public comment?
You're
Mr.
up.
Ferguson.
Thank you. Good
Thanks for
afternoon,
coming back.
everyone. Michael Bergerson, local attorney at 601 Franklin Street. I'm here representing Lakeshore Sewer, LLC. Just to let you know that the project is still ongoing, that we'd like to be placed on the agenda for next month's meeting of the board to discuss your general policy related to connecting or requiring or being able to mandate a connection from individual residents not on the original project, but may subsequently either want to tap in or not tap in. And they really want to know, honestly, whether or not you would require or command or mandate their tapping in. I think we've secured an understanding with the health department of LaPorte County that anyone along the sewer route would not be compelled to tap in. Number one, if their sewer is working, and two, if it wasn't working, if they could replace their existing septic system with another septic system at a lesser cost than it would cost to tap in.
Yeah.
And so essentially what my client is interested in is getting a sense of your feelings in that regard, that you would not compel someone to tap in that had a working septic system, and two, that if the cost of tapping in would exceed the cost of replacing a septic system, what would your position be in that regard? And we could move forward and getting this done this
If I could
spring.
answer that, Mr. President.
Yeah, please.
So, Mr. Bergerson and I have emailed over the course of the day today several times, so I was aware he was coming. I think he wanted to kind of put his position out there on behalf of his client on record today at the meeting. While I understand the request to be on the agenda for the next meeting, I think the next step might be for Wendy and the staff to review the request so that they're prepared with a recommendation for the board, because a discussion amongst the board without staff recommendation isn't going to go very far.
No.
So I think based upon that recommendation, that'll determine the timing of when the board will consider it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I understand the ask.
No, and I understand it too, and it's a fair question, or fair questions, if you will.
Yes.
And we're also in the process of trying to understand our whole financial system and planning going forward. So it's a timely request now anyway. And so whether we can have, I doubtful we'll be able to have it on the next meeting, but certainly I would expect in the next 3 meetings or so, something in that range, my guess.
I would appreciate any consideration, obviously favorable, or just a consideration so we can move on. It's my understanding that the town in Long Beach is now considering replacing a lot of streets, paving, etc.,
Sure.
which
We
we
wanna
would
do
like
the
to get
paving
a
system.
response to before that project goes forward,
Fair.
where there may well be people who say, well, why are you tearing up streets right after you paved them?
Yeah.
Not that it would tear them up a lot, but because this is a directional boring type of a construction. But again, we prefer to get this started and underway before they would undertake their street replacement, which is going to be sometime this summer.
I think it's fair for us to say that we would consider it as a priority for our discussion. And so I'm just not sure we can make it next meeting, that's all.
I get it.
Yeah.
Just let me know.
Okay.
And I may be
Well,
here
I'll
anyway.
let Joel let you know, yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
Joel mentioned that, so we'll get that.
So, okay with you?
Work on that. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thanks for
Good to see
joining
you.
us.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Take care.
Pleasure.
See you later.
All right, any other public comment?
Don't forget your briefcase.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah,
It's gotta have that.
gotta take the money.
We'll be coming back mid-meeting.
Yes, thank you.
Any other public comment?
All right, Mike. See you later.
Anybody? I think that's it.
All right.
Everybody else?
With that,
Okay.
consider public comment closed. Let's move on to item 3, financial report, controllers report, cash balances, please.
Happy New Year, everyone. Well, but in the controller's office, we're still in 2025. So just to give you a heads up that as we are doing the financial report and as we look, because these are your fund balances, did that total up to your total cash.
Yeah.
There might be some things that we find as we really dig into the data and do our annual report. So with that said, because we haven't done the annual report yet, so. But these are the balances as of right now, which the only thing that might have, some things may shift around as we're reconciling and looking at and actually looking at the detail of our general ledger. And that happens, like I said, throughout the year, but mainly at the end of the year is when we really do a deep dive into everything. Does it make sense? Do the balances make sense? Oh, we hit stormwater and we should have hit, sanitary district operating, or vice versa, probably the other way. So just with that said, here's our balances. So in the refuse fund, the balance is $2,143,311.21. Your sanitary district grant fund now is $249,977.25. And I think Chris even called because that is an increase from last month. The reason being is that in the refuse, we budgeted money for, are they CNG to 2 trucks? And it was our local match for a grant. Now we are actually moving that money into the grant fund, because that's where we will pay for these trucks out of. So it's really coming from refuse into the grant fund. So there's still, it was kind of a shifting of monies. I think Chris saw on the claims docket, it's actually a payment to the sanitary district, and we're just paying ourselves and putting it into the grant fund. But that's why you see that large increase into the grant fund.
Okay, so let me
Eventually, the trucks will be paid out of that.
may I ask a related but different question?
Okay.
So the sanitation refuse fund, those are funds that, from earlier discussion today, I believe does that come from property tax?
Yes,
That's not property tax. Now the other funds in here, I'm assuming that the majority of these come from our revenues in terms of our fees from
absolutely.
sewer.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Except
so-
for probably your SRF is just a fund for the SRF, and your Carwick remediation. Way back, I think you received some funds for Carwick remediation. That's another fund that we need to kind of look at to kind of see if we've paid the appropriate out of there, and what can we still pay from the Carwick remediation fund, or can we move that fund? So that's the other fund that was not funded from your rates.
So and the stormwater. Let me go back to
The stormwater, yes.
Stormwater.
Too is tax fund, is property tax funded.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, as we move forward here, we'd love to have a much greater understanding where these revenues come from.
Mm-hmm.
So then,
Explanation.
with it, if we have a balance, but it doesn't show me. That's not a monthly fee. This is an accumulation
Right.
of funds over time. So try to understand this. It'll help us with a lot of our other discussions here
Yep.
relative to how the place runs. So,
Correct. But that's
and
what
you don't
I.
have to verbalize every single one of these.
No.
I just want to summarize it, but that would be much better for us.
I always thought that. Well, we could go through because it's all out in front of you. If you have any questions, but I know Chris had mentioned that, and I wanted to point
Thank
that
you.
one out
I appreciate
that did go up. Otherwise, it's all summarized, and these are summarized by funds, which are all made up into your different bank accounts. But I think the most important is really to see it by fund to know where those dollars land.
Okay.
And the
And-
source.
Yeah, and the source is actually, and I know I was a little bit, we were trying to get, we have a lot of deadlines for the end of January. I think in your budgetary performance report, if you look at the very beginning of here you got your refuses on the first page, and I think, and I was
Yeah,
late to
that's
send
it.
this to Rachel, but you got to everybody, thank you. You can see where, what the estimate is for coming in for property taxes. Obviously, we've not gotten any property tax distributions. And you've got your other supplemental state shared. So this is where you would see your sources of revenues coming in. Okay, does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. And then below it starts your it stays in the refuse fund, and then that matches up to what your cash balance is in that $2 million. Then it goes into the expenses of your refuse fund. So obviously we do have some salaries and wages. If you continue, because the refuse, and then it goes to stormwater, which once again, the 2522, that's also property tax related. So if you look at page 5, you'll see the source of revenue for the sanitary district stormwater is mainly property taxes. Well, it's all property taxes, except for, don't think we have any rentals, and miscellaneous collections. But it's mainly property taxes and other state shared taxes that we'll get. Okay. And then it goes to the expenses of the stormwater fund would be after that. So all the funds will start with their appropriate revenue. So if you go to their operating, which is on page 9, that's when you will see your other, that's going into your sewage operating costs. I just don't know if we probably have not posted, because we're still working on getting all December. We probably haven't posted any January revenues yet. But that's because, like I said, we're still we're still trying to close out 2025. So then you would actually see your current month transactions into your different revenues of your 6201. And then when you go to starting in page 10, and I think maybe Al, we would go over, and Al did a wonderful job of getting this budget together along with other staff members. Then it's divided up by the different departments. In your collection department will be 301, so you've got your salaries and all your expenses. And then it goes on to their different, because you've got it what we call departmentalized, because obviously you want to look at your different, you got your treatment plant, and then you've got your office, which is 303. And this brings up, and I did have discussions with Chris on this, and I would like to point out, because this is a handy tool for management to look at, and also even for the commissioners, that if you look on page 14, okay, and I talked to Chris about this, and so we bought a printer, right?
Copier.
A copier that the board approved. And Chris had money in last year's budget, but because we didn't pay for it into this year's budget, you'll see it's showing a $10,500 payment of current month transactions. And so it's wreaking havoc on your budget. That makes sense? Okay. What we can do in here, and I can pull your minutes, because I think, would it be noted in the minutes that it was approved? Probably, yeah. I think what I need to do is because I don't think this was meant to really be part of this year's budget. I can do a budget amendment of $10,500 in that budget amendment, because the intent of this was on last year's budget. That will add money basically to this year. So you're starting off where you had intended. So I think I'm going to do that. Otherwise, you're going to have a hard time in your office thinking, oh, wait a second, I don't have enough supply money. Does that make sense? Because we do this in the city side a lot. And I really think this is a good tool for the sanitary district to use. And even you can make budget amendments during the year. And what I would suggest, we have to go through a more lengthy process with the council, but it's the same. We just go in front of the council and say, hey, you approved our budget, now we want to transfer money from one side. Because it's impossible to try to get a budget exactly where it may not land exactly what you had intended at the beginning of the year. So you can make budget amendments, or there might even be a time when we need to actually add money to this budget. Because you want to use this as a tool to really know whether or not are you truly over budget, or was there an unexpended expense that everybody agrees we need to add this money to the budget. And then we can do a budget amendment and add that money to the budget. And I think for this, I think it kind of shows that circumstance. So I'm suggesting that I'm going to make a budget amendment to that line item, because this really was intended to go last year. And I think we worked with Al on stormwater. There is a process which I think, and we talked about purchase orders too. And we can assist I'm not sure who would be the appropriate person that would, if you have a contract and you want to do a purchase order, you've already approved to set aside money in this line, you got the budget for it, and you got the money in the budget. We need to do a purchase order so that we encumber that money in this budget, so that when somebody's looking at this budget performance report, you'll see that, oh, we've already encumbered this much money, and it's this purchase order. And then when we pay the bills against that purchase order, that encumbrance will decrease. But you'll know, looking at your budget, that you've already encumbered that money. And then at the end of the year, you could roll that money if you still have a project that's going to roll over to the next year, you could carry that money to the next year. That's what we did with stormwater. There were some projects that we identified that we wanted to use some of the remaining stormwater budget, and Al worked with Tamiko to get that process. So that's just it's a learning process. I think this is a good tool.
I like seeing the performance report. I'm still a little lost on exactly how it works. Even your example, I'm not, because I look at, we have an adopted budget for office supplies of $11,500, and then we have an amended budget for the same thing, and the current month's transaction was $1,700. So I'm
down at the actual. It was a piece of equipment.
So is this
the 10,500 was actually something that wasn't in the budget at all.
This is under 423.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize.
No problem.
It's still in your total. It's in your supplies are broken down into all these different kind of supplies.
Mm-hmm.
So this really is. I don't know if you really call it minor equipment, but it is equipment. So we actually went out there and added a line item to put it in the appropriate account.
Mm-hmm.
And so now if you look at it, oh, wait a second. We spent money that we didn't have budgeted.
That's your net budget, right? Because you had zero budgeted and you spent $10,500. So, but still, when I go down to the bottom of the column under supply totals, I have $21,600. Right, line item 429.
If you look at the total on 429 with supplies total, which actually you only have 8,670 is the budget remaining.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So your argument is that 10,500 is going to screw up the rest of the year.
Yes.
Adjustment here.
Yes. And so what I would do, and you'll see this next month, I'm going to add a budget amendment of 10,500. It's going to put the supplies back to what you really had.
10,500 comes from where?
It's coming from 62. It's coming from your your sewage operating fund.
Okay, so
but it was money. But we did have money left. He did have money left over in his budget from last year. Yep.
All right, so it's way too complex for us to try to get into here.
Absolutely.
But I appreciate the explanation. So
I agree. That's why I want to just point that one thing out, so that if once we use this tool more, and if there's questions about it, feel free to ask me during the meeting. But that's basically how this all works.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so we good?
Well, number one, I'm glad Chris is looking at the numbers. I'm glad.
Correct, because when he saw the so no.
Okay, so anything else on the controller's report?
No, that was just it. And my only other suggestion would be, and we can work with the staff to do to actually incorporate purchase orders. I think that will help. Then you will really know how much money you've got left in your budget.
I think the hard part for us to absorb as the commissioners is that there's so many line items in here.
Yeah.
I'm used to looking at half a dozen big buckets and what's up or down. So
I think we should probably go ahead and take the larger report, maybe collapse it and then combine it into a spreadsheet. Where it's more like maybe something a little bit more digest. Work on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, and we've been talking about purchase order. We're going to talk a little bit about some of those improvements today. So.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you. Next we have the claims docket.
Chris is leaving.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, by the way.
Thank you very much.
So as you can see, the claims, and I could break down that to you more as we kind of progress into the year, showing you where those smaller buckets are and how we separate them, because we can transfer within a area.
When she says I'm moving $10,500, well, we just can't make money, so we'd have to come from another account, right?
Right.
And as she had spoken with the vehicles that we purchased the grappler truck, and we purchased a rear loader for the refuge department. Because we went through Drive Clean Indiana, who sponsored our
our money's there.
So you got the grant.
We then have to, the grant, so when we have to fulfill the grant with our portion, which is a smaller portion, but we then also have to we have to take the two used vehicles, we have to strip them out and have to scrap them. And once those are scrapped, we prove that to Drive Indiana releases the rest of the money.
Yeah.
So that's why those monies were transferred for the temporary. So we had to pay that $773,000 bill initially, but we'll get reimbursed.
Okay.
So the sanitary district claims docket is $1,071,167.33. The sanitary district tax would be $610,049.06, and the sanitary CARWIC would be at a zero. Total claims would be $1,681,216.39.
And the recommendation is we pay the claims.
I guess it is.
I'll make a motion that we pay the claims docket presented by Mr. Yagowski.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
So the one big number was the $731,000 to Best Equipment Company. That was
That is
the one you just described, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, all right, next item, new business, board action, purchase of storm sewer inspection equipment.
Al's up.
Good afternoon, board members. On this item, we included in your electronic packet a summary of why we want to make this purchase. We had a rain event back on Sunday, December 28th. We were coming out of an extended cold period, so the ground was semi-frozen. We had a few inches of snow on the ground. We were looking at the weather forecast. They're predicting a couple inches of rain, which typically would not impact our drainage systems. However, as the day progressed on that Sunday, there with our frozen ground and the snow melt, there's additional runoff getting into the streets. And if you recall, the falling of the leaves extended further into the year. It snowed right away, weren't able to pick up leaves, so we had some issues with leaves on catch basins on that Sunday, so we called in a couple of crews. They went took care of those. We also looked at some of our open ditches, our drainage conveyances, and we noticed considerable more flow through our system than we normally would have with that type of rain. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the meeting. But after that happened, then we talked to Tony Basil, our GIS coordinator, and we asked him to use the elevation data in our GIS system to have the computer calculate where there are low areas, low intersections in the city that have storm drains, which would be areas of high priority for us to go and clean prior to storms. So Tony identified 21 different ponding areas that had, I think it was about over 100 inlets, 164 inlets. So now we have a standing protocol where we see if we know a larger rain's coming, or if we have a similar situation with frozen ground and snow melt, we can go to those intersections. We're able to go to all 21 intersections, inspect those 164 inlets in about a day and a half. Through those inspections, we removed a lot of leaves, put those in the back of trucks and vans that got them out of there. But then the crews also noticed there are about 23 inlets that needed some additional work. So we're able to send the vac truck out there and clean most of those. At the time, we were reviewing our remaining budget in the storm fund, and identified a piece of inspection equipment. It's high definition camera on the end of a pole system, where we could use that to put in our storm inlets and storm sewers to get us look and see not only the catch basin itself, but down the pipe to see if there's any other obstructions where we might have to put in the video camera or do jetting and cleaning of those lines. We found some funds available unused from our budget from last year. There's 3 different funds totaling $19,500, which was sufficient to be able to buy this piece of equipment from Best Equipment. This EnviroSight Quick View camera is the same company that we have our main video inspection equipment from, so it matches that. And Best Equipment through Sourcewell, the state kind of QPA system, quantity purchase agreements. There's already pricing set up, so we don't have to negotiate or go out for additional bids. We got the Sourcewell QPA pricing from Best Equipment for $19,500. Working with Tamiko at City Hall, we then issued a purchase order to encumber the unspent 2025 funds. So we can use this. They issued a purchase order. Due to the nature of the cost exceeding $10,000, we wanted to bring it before the board for your consideration approval of buying that equipment. And that will allow us to go to these priority inlets and then other inlets in town, maybe some sanitary sewer as well, and use this kind of more efficient way of going around town and looking at some of our systems.
So let me ask the general question number one. Some of you are very supportive of this, right? Then secondarily, has it already been purchased or is this on the come? Basically?
It's not been purchased, pending board action. We have.
Okay, that was my basic question.
Right.
So because it's over 10,000, you're asking for our support for that. And then the related question I would have, since December 28th, a while back, should we have a system where our leadership can exceed the $10,000 for, I'm not sure this qualifies as an emergency, but certainly it's an efficiency question relative to if would it have been beneficial to purchase this thing 3 weeks ago instead of now.
Right. Looking at the weather, we didn't foresee that. There are other provisions that allow the water reclamation superintendent and public works director to exceed that 10,000 in certain cases, namely emergency situations for different things, and there's different limits. And that's probably something it was passed a number of years ago, so that's probably something we want to bring back to the board at a future meeting, so you understand that policy and understand the limits and make sure it's working well. If we would have had a dire need for it, we could have tried to move forward, but we thought since we're getting close.
But I appreciate you recognizing the importance of following the procedures and going to the commission and the board. I just want to make sure we keep the water flowing. So.
Sure. And if I could add, we had, with the unspent funds in 25, working with the controller's office to encumber that money, all those were done timely, and so everything's in order, and we just thought with the last step then we'd bring it to the board.
Sure. So, I'd like the recommendation from our leadership to buy the $19,000 piece of equipment.
We recommend approval.
And what's the pleasure of the commission?
Mr. President, before you get the motion, just if we can have Al read the QPA number into the record, it has to be
Okay.
part of the minutes. I was looking for it on the screen. I can't see it.
Yeah. So we have it's the Sourcewell EnviroSite number 120721-EVS.
Good enough. All right, so what's the pleasure of the commission?
Make a motion that we approve the purchase of the storm sewer inspection equipment for $19,500 approximately.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks for being proactive
Thank you.
in that. That's
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, so-
Now, anytime we can have technology at a reasonable cost improve our efficiencies, that's obviously the right decision.
Absolutely. So we're excited. They have them in stock. We can now schedule training within the next couple of weeks and then be able to go back to those 164 priorities before the spring rains get here. So we should be on track to be able to.
I like the 21 ponding area concept relative to GIS. Since it's GIS built, I'm assuming that it's going to be the same 21 routine ponding areas all the time, or does that move around?
Same 21 areas for now, and actually we have maps.
Okay, so you're setting
With the
expectations for
ponding,
that's where.
Yep.
So we have
Yeah,
maps.
that falls into our longer term planning stuff too.
Right.
Yep, we can measure it and double check and see if something's
Nice.
changed or if the improvements have actually impacted that.
Yeah, cool.
And in the past, we have done pre-storm checks, but it was more based on general knowledge of the system.
That's a gut. It was out in the field. I've seen it here before. I get it.
So now it's a wider geographic area of the city. It's based on contours. We just checked elevations. Tony
Yeah,
ran through all
that's
the worked on
great.
it.
All right.
And then, I also have the next one,
Okay,
Mr.
please.
President, renewal of Christopher Burke Engineering Agreement for MS4 Drainage Consulting Services. So in your board packet, it kind of explained the last couple of years, 2024 and 2025, the district has worked with Christopher Burke Engineering on the MS4 program. That's been very beneficial to us. We're able to successfully complete a large part of the MS4 audit this past year without any items noted. Also, they're providing critical assistance to us in reviewing the drainage reports for new development. So we have the new stormwater ordinance, we have new stormwater standards, and when new developers come in town, they have to submit calculations, computer runs, designs for ensuring they meet the ordinance. So then we'll go to a consultant like Christopher Burke, have them review it, and we go back and forth. So in trying to look at a budget for this year, I projected a budget of $40,000 for the MS4 services, the stormwater reviews. For stormwater reviews, we do get reimbursement from the developers for those reviews. There is a rate schedule set up already. We'll be making that a little more robust as we move forward with the fee schedule. And there might be a couple other small stormwater items that come up. And again, towards the end of last year, looking at a stormwater fund, we had $10,000 of unused money in professional services engineering and $6,200 in other services, other contractual services, for a total of $16,200. So again, working with the controller's office, they were able to issue a PO and encumber that $16,200 to be used in this year. If we can get this proposal from Burke approved. So the $40,000, $16,200 would be paid with the encumbered funds, and the remainder would be coming from our stormwater. So these funds are not related to the operating budget at all of the wastewater treatment plant from our customers paying for rates for treating water. These funds come from the property tax levy for stormwater.
Gotcha. And can you summarize the total agreement cost?
Yes, this is not to exceed cost for calendar year 2026, that $40,000.
What's the total for it? Okay. You added a couple other numbers in there, I wasn't sure. So it's 40,000. And last year, was it 40,000 also, or about?
It was around that. There's a couple other things. We had to get some kind of long-standing MS4 issues updated, so it was probably like 50.
But this is not a line.
Right, yeah, it was about 55,000 last year.
Okay.
So since we made some progress, I kind of bumped it down a little bit, and then we'll kind of see how this year goes.
Okay. Can I get a recommendation from leadership?
Yes, we're recommending approval.
I make a motion.
Yes.
Sorry, to renew the engineering agreement with Christopher B. Burke Engineering for MS4 and Drainage Consulting Services.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No, aye. It's made.
One thing I
guess when it goes unanimous, I guess I don't have to ask for opposed.
And one thing I forgot to mention, Mr. President, is in the stormwater budget for this year, 2026, for the MS4 contract services, we had a budget of $50,000. So I wanted to kind of start out not full of the budget so far. So we are within the existing budget for 2026 for this agreement.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right. Plate settler brochure.
Yes, so.
This sounds familiar to a plant operation kind of thing.
Yes.
Right?
So the cloth media filtration pilot study went extremely well, and the cloth media removed 30% more TSS and BOD than our primary clarifiers. However, we would like to evaluate the plate settler technology. Plate settlers will increase its capacity by increasing surface area. So, but unlike the previous pilot studies that we've done, there's costs associated with this one, and our consultant CDS worked with a company called Parkson, who will waive the $5,000 a month equipment rental for 3 months. and for amount not to exceed $26,200, transport the equipment from Florida to the sanitary district, provide 2 days of on-site assistance if necessary. We're hoping we only need 1 day, and in that case it will cost less. And provided that all the parts are returned and that we properly clean the tank, $5,000 of that will be refunded. So if this pilot study indicates that the plate settlers remove pollutants at a high enough rate to provide the desired increase in capacity, we're estimating lower capital costs, lower O&M costs, less complicated system to operate and maintain compared to the cloth media technology. And so we're asking for approval to do this pilot study, and we're really optimistic about that.
So somebody must be using it someplace else and it's working.
It's tried and true. It's a very old technology, and
I'm watching a crowd here. We're all nodding.
And it's like, yes, yes.
So if you guys have anything else to add, but it's a tried and true technology, and we're really optimistic about it satisfying our objectives, and we could retrofit our current primary clarifiers, and we're not so sure we could do that with the cloth media.
Correct.
So there's just a lot of advantages to it, and so it's just worth the investment to take a look at it in a pilot study and go from there.
Yeah, I just want to mention that if we build new primary clarifiers, we're looking at $6-7 million. You're going to spend $26,000 to maybe save $2 or $3 or $4 million potentially.
Yeah.
And overall, the primary clarifiers are about 10% of the overall cost of just the work at the treatment plant. So this could be some significant savings.
That's real money. So
Yeah, real money.
so that sounds like a simpler operation. I haven't got a clue how you clear a cloth thing. You back flush or you take it out.
Backwash it.
So now I assume this backwashes somehow too, right?
It has a sludge collection mechanism. So currently in our primary clarifiers, we have flights that do the same thing, and so we already have a sludge collection mechanism in place with our primary clarifiers. This is a different one, but with the cloth media, you have to backwash it. We would have to thicken the backwash before it's sent into the digester, so that's additional cost. So this, if it works the way we think it's going to, this would be less expensive to install and operate
And maintain.
and maintain.
Interesting. Well, I love the concepts of looking at new technologies. Interesting to me that this has been around a while. Why wasn't investigated before? That's always the question, right? So, but it's can't look backward, just look forward. So, all right, what's the pleasure of the commission?
I'll make a motion that we approve the expense for the rental of the plate settler for the desired time.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you for bringing that forward. Thank you. Good. All right, so let's move on to 4.4, communication on sewer mapping easements, NIPSCO easement request.
Yes, so been working with our friends at NIPSCO who need to have they have an easement request in front of this board today that will then go to the Board of Works for a sanitary easement line that is located just north of the Project Maze property, adjacent to Royal Road. It's an existing easement that we have. It's granted to us by the city, hence the reason it has to go through two boards. There will be additional, NIPSCO is doing work on the Project Maze property. The only thing that our easement is being used for is access to that and for vegetation control.
Oh, so it's just on a pipe or a wire going?
They are putting it adjacent, so we've already worked throughout all those agreements. We have it written up. It's been reviewed by Jewel and his team, as well as Amber, and we feel like we're in pretty good shape. We're being identified. There are no major issues, and there was no alternative for them to go and do another easement. Just didn't make a whole lot of sense.
So this is going to support the new Project Maze.
Yes, and already in
So in essence to support maybe 800 million, $1 billion project.
With a vegetated easement over our easement,
There
yeah.
we go, okay. Any other questions? What's the pleasure of the commission?
Make a motion that we grant the easement to NIPSCO as requested.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Motion carries. Let's move on to Sanitary District General Terms and Conditions for Contracts.
I'll take that one too and see if anybody on the team has anything to add, including Joel, who came up with this. One of the things we've been doing is looking across the board at all of the general terms and conditions of our contracts. Our consultants are aware of this as well, so that's no problem, and we'll be updating them. But we wanted to update the general terms and conditions to provide more clarity on invoicing, and timely payment. We've had a few incidences where we're receiving invoices for work that was done in 2024, 2023. We've cleared most of that up, but in a way to actually have a better business practice, we went ahead and updated the general terms and conditions, worked with Jewel to get that done. Al has also reviewed to make sure, and now then we will go through and add these new terms and conditions to all of the contracts for our consultants. It's not really a problem for the most part, but we want timely invoices, timely payment.
It's something that's enforceable. So, because without that, you're keep sending them letter, we don't have it. Oh, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, so that's us just trying to have better business
It's just
practice.
an update. We don't have to approve anything.
Joel, is it required to be updated?
It's not necessarily required that it be approved, but I think the board should, either indicate just on the record that they understand what the recommendation is of the board and they don't have any issue with the staff implementing the new document. I don't think it technically needs board approval though.
I think our general feeling is that's a good idea.
Good idea. Yes.
Thank you.
Great.
All right, let's move on. Professional service agreement with Ascenium to configure new SCADA hardware.
So, I don't know how familiar you are with our SCADA system, but
SCADA, that's what that is.
it's an acronym for Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. In layman's terms, it's the control system for the plant. It provides the operators with real-time information of what's going on in the plant. We got 12 acres, they can't be everywhere at one time. Our SCADA system gives them a big screen and just shows them what's going on. They see alarms.
You see valve positions too?
Yes,
Okay.
we see a lot. And it's a very valuable tool for troubleshooting and trending data. And so we're at the point where our hardware is old and we're having trouble buying parts. That's how old it is. So to ensure continual reliability, we need to purchase new hardware, install the latest software, and then have that software configured. And so we're asking for approval for a professional services agreement with Actimium, I think that's how you pronounce
I
it,
struggle with that
to
too.
configure the new software in for an amount of $41,710.
And in the budget, out of the budget, above the budget, where does that fit in the
We have a equipment replacement fund, and there's money in the budget for that, and that's what this would. I think that's what what bucket this would fall
Yes.
into.
Okay. And that wasn't on our claims docket tonight.
It was not.
But
No,
it will be in
But
the
it will
future.
be.
we
That's a
we
one. Okay, thank you. I get it.
had to get approval first.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve the professional service agreement with Actimium to configure the new SCADA hardware for $41,710.
Second.
It's seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. This is a related question, I guess. I'm assuming when we actually get down to this is for configuration, there'll be a significant spend for new hardware, new
The
information.
new hardware spend is going to be less than the configuration.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm familiar with some of so can we remotely turn on and off valves and stuff, or is this just monitoring?
For some of our processes are just monitored, and there's controls for other. For example, our filters are backwashed automatically. Our headwork, some of that operation is automatic. For example, when the wet well gets to a certain level because it's raining or something to that effect, an additional pump will kick on.
Okay.
In our aeration system, the MCC looks at the dissolved oxygen concentrations in the aerators and opens valves more to bring more air in, or closes, throttles them to have less air. So some of our processes are automated. We'd like to increase that at some point in the future, and some of them are just monitored.
I think this is an ongoing challenge in terms of having your system operate efficiently, being able to monitor and report on it, as well as there's a lot of times a manpower related thing to it if you're not automated, right? So
Absolutely.
a lot to it, so can't keep it up. All right, anything else on 4.6? Item number 5, old business and information. So projects and capital improvement.
Yep.
Coming back.
So I've got a handout I just want to go over real quickly. It's a similar handout we've given at past meetings. But each month we wanted to kind of update this and provide the board some sense of where we're at. And first I want to kind of go through this Excel table real quickly. It gives you a sense of what's been going on. Priority Group 1, that is putting together the story of our financial position to be able to go to the council with a workshop. 1.2 are some of the proposed fee structure updates we want to implement, and 1.3 would be the system development charges. We're looking to, for our January update here, we made real good progress on that, come back to the board, potentially February meeting, early March, depending on when we can maybe schedule some workshops on that. So that's progressing. No action required at this time. Priority 2 are kind of the capital improvement projects. Rhonda gave an update on the primary clarifier, where 2 pilots are done. 1 is coming up, so that board action was taken today, so we're on track with that. 2.2 is where we start getting into our collection system out in the neighborhoods. We had identified 2 priority areas along Lakeshore Drive and the beach area and the Esplanade and the Sand, and then also the rear yard sewers in Edgewood. We had contracted last fall with Robinson Engineering to help us do capital cost planning for that. That work's been completed. They submitted their reports last week. Those were provided in your electronic packets. We'll have Tom Nagel from Robinson come up in a little bit and talk about that. The impact on our capital plan is for our Lakeshore Drive repairs, manhole repair work, and lining of the sewers. We have an estimated cost of about $573,000 for that effort. And then for the Edgewood rear yard sewers, considerably larger amount of sewers involved there. So we have a potential capital cost there of about $2,175,000. So we're taking these numbers, getting them, putting into the capital plan. There may be a couple more collection systems, but that's kind of responding to the board's requirement that as we put the plan together, we don't only look at the plant, but we look at our collection system, our sanitary sewers. So
any of that relate to the Barkers discussion we had earlier?
That's coming up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a separate line item, but good question. And then our lift station assessment. We're kind of focusing on potential 5 lift stations of the 45 where we might need to do some station upgrades. So by mid-February, in a few weeks, we'll have those costs. And then also we're looking at certain lift stations that don't have generators in case of power failure that we want to put generators onto. So those costs we'll have in a couple of weeks so we can get that into the capital plan. Priority 3 is trying to work with other partners who might be able to provide some funding to us. As a public works director mentioned, we had a meeting with Michigan State Economic Development Corporation staff and Skylar York, a redevelopment director, on the 22nd last week to talk about potential projects and how if we have a project related to economic development to upgrade sewers or capacities, they might be able to bring some funding to the table. So we continue to work and have those discussions. And then 3.3, this was the $100,000 from Project Maze to do the sewer cross connection at Springland and Risky. We've got survey data. We're looking at utility conflicts, and we're on schedule for end of June to have that done. Priority 4 is the Lafayette Barker area. Had a meeting with Burke on Monday to review potential outfall locations. And we've been made aware of a grant where we can apply to potentially get some funding. So by the end of next month in February, we'll have those costs and potential locations to put in that grant. And we'll have a more fuller update at February of how we want to attack the Lafayette Barker outfall. Ditch maintenance plan. We proceeded with inspections of the street alarm ditch on the west side of town, and then working with Tony Basil from our GIS, we've identified ditch culverts around the city, and we've included some mapping in the electronic packet on that. So the last couple of weeks we inspected 17 different ditch culverts, and we've identified 6 that might need replacement. And again, we're looking at some grant funding for that potential funding source. And then on the big sheet, we just kind of then show up in the priority 1. When we put this together in October, we had a thought process of updating fees and implementing a system development charge. Could have been a process that might have gone pretty quickly, but as we got into that, understood it's kind of tied to kind of the whole financial status of the district. It would have to go before the council, so we kind of then decided rather than go before the council twice, we kind of wrapped up priority 1s and kind of the rate analysis all at once. So we're kind of feeding everything into this key February-March timeline where we'll have our updated proposed fee structure, we'll have our proposed system development charges, we'll have some more work on the pilot studies for the primary clarifiers, we'll be finishing off the collection sewers, the lift stations, feeding that all into the capital plan. So sometime April, May-ish, June-ish, we'd be ready to go through the process with the council. So back in October, we had predicted 4/7/26 for having the updated rate structure enacted. So we're pretty close to that. That may, move by a month or so, 6 weeks, but top priority, these items 1 and 2, to get all these done so we can wrap up the whole financial analysis. And then the rest of the areas just kind of show progress on that. And just want to kind of give that update to the board today.
This is great. I just love us having a plan and executing against it. And it's, those of you in the audience consider there's a lot of detail in here and a lot of homework that has to go into making this stuff happen. And I anticipate we'll have a little slide here and there in the schedule, but generally speaking, at least we can see the comprehensive, the overall activity,
Right.
and keep ourselves at some level of cadence. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Any questions for him, Mr. Wallace? Okay.
And then I've got a couple other things on 5.1.2 other projects. I wanted to bring John Kremke up from Schneider Geomatics, and he can give a couple of updates verbally on
Thank you.
US 12 lift station project and the MCASE project.
Yeah. Well, US 12, I've got some, what I think is great news. And that is the contractor will be back on site within the next couple of weeks to start the directional bore
Wow.
from Highway 12 to the plant. They expect to be out there about a month for that work. So that'll be good.
Is it weather dependent or not?
A little bit. That's why, they had planned to start already, and then they're going to push it off just a couple of weeks. So.
Okay, so thank you.
You may see them mobilize next week, is what he told me today, and then get the work started about a week after that. So that's good news.
Yeah.
So while the permitting's still being completed, they'll be out there being productive on the job.
Great.
So that's good. And the MCASE project, that is completely weather dependent, just to get the plants in and get everything vegetated. There's some minor grading work to do, really nothing that's major, but that we're just waiting for a break in weather so they can get back out there, waiting for the snow to melt on the ground to do whatever it's going to do. Yeah. But that's the status on those 2 projects.
So let me go back to, I guess it's Lake Street. Crossing 12, as I look to the northwest, looks like we've cleared a bunch of trees and stuff. Is that where all the activity is going to be? Is that it?
That's actually installed.
Oh, okay. Excuse me, I just...
But where you see the lift station structure?
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
Northwest up to the railroad through the clearing,
exactly.
that's gravity sewer, it's installed.
Okay, great.
So
That's
the
even better
work
knowledge.
you're gonna see is from the south side of 12 down the old railroad
Yeah,
bike track.
familiar with that song?
Yep.
I don't know why it caught my eye the other day. It's all
Yeah.
so it's just...
Yeah, that's installed and ready to
Love
go.
it. Love it. Thank you.
Awesome.
Sure.
Other questions for projects?
All right, thank you.
Thanks, good work.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Alan.
And then another project,
Yeah.
though, I wanted to bring Tom Nago from Robinson up to talk about the Esplanade and.
I figured he'd end up here in front of us eventually. You know,
He's got this moment. Hello, Tom.
Hi. These are a couple pages from what we had in the electronic packet, but wanted to give Tom a chance.
Are they 2 different ones?
Yes, there's one.
There's 2 different areas.
That's Edgewood and Esplanade. Okay.
Yes. And to kind of give a quick summary before Tom takes over is early on, last October, as we started looking at our collection system, we identified these 2 areas. We have a sewer in the sand along the north side of Lakeshore Drive. So that's a high priority us to assess and figure out what we need to do to extend the life of that sewer. And then secondly, there's one large neighborhood in Michigan City where sewers are primarily in the backyards, and that's in the Edgewood area. So those are 2 really high priority areas for us to understand what's going on with their sewers, and then have a plan on how to do repairs, and then come up with a financial component to do that. We went with Tom and Robinson Engineering because they have great experience in this area on backyard sewers. So we wanted to use their expertise to help us through this capital planning process. We didn't have a lot of time, and there's significant access issues to get to these manholes. We were able to videotape some small segments, both the Lakeshore Drive sewer and Edgewood. We provided that information to Tom and his colleagues. They were able to use that in some respects to then kind of come up with a ratio of, based on what we're seeing with some of those, what would be some of the repair needs based on their professional judgment of doing this all around the area. So that's kind of the synopsis, and I'll turn it over to you, Tim.
Thank you, Al. Thank you, Mr. President, Board. So, like Al said, we looked at Esplanade and the Edgewood area, and those are very tricky areas because they both involve backyard or rear yard sewers. Your staff is doing an excellent job of maintaining the sewers in the front yard where they have access to it. What we did is went out and visited the site. We went out there with the staff. We viewed all the videotape the staff gave us and all the notes they gave us on the condition of the sewer. While we were out there while we were out there visiting Edgewood, we found a surcharged manhole. And I want to give you a compliment to your staff. As soon as we found it, there was a jetter truck out there within 15 minutes cleaning it up. It didn't go on the ground or anything, but it could have been a disaster if it could have backed up into someone's home. But just by popping manholes and finding this,
wow.
Al was there with us. They called the team came out there and got it. So what we've done with the data that we got from the district on the pipes that they did investigations on was Edgewood was approximately 11% of the total pipes. It's a small data set. Esplanade, approximately 12% of the total pipe in the entire network there was looked at. With this, we prepared cost estimates based on historical experience we have in towns that have the same types of sewers, the same age of sewers, the same materials of sewers, and the same locations being in the rear yard. And for summary, I'll tell you what those costs were. And then we came up with an estimated game plan on it. The first part of the game plan was cleaning and televising all the sewers through a contractor, and manhole inspection and rehabilitation for all the manholes, then follow up with manhole repair and sanitary sewer lining. For Edgewood, the cost for cleaning and TV was $197,000. Manhole inspection was $16,000. Manhole repairs was $519,000. Sanitary sewer lining $1.4 million approximately. The total project for Edgewood will be $2.175 million. For Esplanade, the cleaning and TV would be $67,000. Manhole inspection $6,000. Manhole repairs $110,000. sanitary sewer lining, $390,000 for a total cost of $573,000. So that gets you into a scale, but just keep in mind that what we're working with a small data set. We only had 10 or 11%. So we believe the best plan of attack here is to get your cleaning and teething done and your manhole inspection done of everything out there. Then we'll make a full assessment of the assets that you have. This is one of Al's priority in the beginning, was this is all about asset management, to extend the life of the asset for the least amount of cost on it. If we were to go forward with these projects, the cleaning and televising of the sewers, approximately about 4 months, and we do the manhole and cleaning and televising concurrently at the same time, then Al wanted 3 months to be able to program where this money's going to come out to see what you can and cannot do. When you're all done, you may not be able to do, if you combine both the jobs, at $2.7 million. You may be able to do $1.5 million or $1 million. And then we could prioritize it with you and say, these are the worst first. You should get this as the highest consequence on it. After that part is done, you will then be in place to start with the construction of the manhole repairs and the sanitary sewer linings. And that project and that portion will probably take about 4 to 5 months. So from start to end, we would be at about a 13-month process with a 3-month process in the middle to figure out where funding's going, if it goes concurrently. I would also recommend that we combine these projects with the inspection and the rehab work. You get economy of scale, so they have 2 independent jobs, one small one very large, because the footage on the Esplanade is so small compared to what Edgewood is. So we just combine them together. The cost we're giving you here is as independent projects. And when we combine them, we'll have an economy of scale and be able to reduce these costs.
So, and the reason these 2 areas were identified is known problems, known backup. How did we end up here?
Al picked these areas, and you're going to explain.
Kind of more towards accessibility issues. You might have seen our big jet vac truck driving around town or parked in the lot here. There's no way to get that truck in the backyards of the Edgewood servers or down on the beach. So we have to use alternate methods to go back there and do inspections and repairs. So the best way to be proactive to minimize our risk of doing an emergency repair in an inaccessible area is to kind of do the work Robinson's been doing in other communities, is say, okay, how can we take these sewers? The Esplanade sewer is maybe 60, 70, 80 years old. The Edgewood sewers are maybe 60-ish. So how can we come up with a legitimate plan to extend that sewer life, decades? So then we don't have to worry about inaccessibility because we fixed the sewer lines, we fixed the manholes. We could just do manhole checks with the SLRAT to make sure everything's flowing and minimize our risk that way.
So just for the novice here, how is a sewer lining done? Is that a rubberized thing, or what is it?
It's cured in place pipe lining. They would come in there, they would clean out the pipe first, they would invert the liner would then be shoved in there. It would be cured either with hot water, steam, or with ultraviolet light, and then it'll be solid up. Then we'd come back in there and we cut out the openings where all the service lines are.
Okay.
Now if we're getting a lot of I&I in the area because the service lines are bad, we could put what's known as a T-liner in that will be shooting up the service line to make that connection more solid. Okay. I think a lot, Mr. President, we're going to find out when we televise and clean it.
I'm just curious the technology, how it's done. It's kind of interesting to me.
It is very interesting. It's been done all over Lake County.
Yes.
I mean, so we've all...
Well, without it, we're digging up stuff and putting new pipe in. I mean,
it saves so much money that it's incredible.
And it extends the life of the asset by about 50 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the expression is, in our lifetime, you won't have to repair that sewer again. Now, knock on wood, I hope I didn't curse it. But our lifetime is 50 years. So,
well, I don't want to be on the board. So.
We'll all be gone. Rachel will be gone.
Okay, Rachel.
Will be gone. And it's great. It's really great stuff. Thank you.
But it's the accessibility that you brought up there, and the equipment that the professional TV and cleaning guys are a lot different than what your staff is. Your staff is doing an excellent job on the accessible manholes. And like I said before, we found this surcharge. It was a matter of 15 minutes. They were out there humping it and cleaning it out. So
I'm assuming this, when you clears out roots and everything else in there,
yes,
too,
sir.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I've had some familiarity with roots getting into stuff, and it's very expensive and hard to maintain. They just grow back over and over. Yeah.
Right. But we are...
And those contractors that Tom was describing, they're have specialized equipment to deal with inaccessible areas. Smaller equipment that you can get out there to do the wood cutting and do the jetting and backing. So it's they have specialized equipment that we do not have and don't see a need for us to purchase. They have big expenditures for equipment that we really would use rarely. Yeah. So the big lesson is don't build sewers in backyards anymore.
Yes.
But we're dealing with what's there. Yeah. So.
I have a lot of experience, yes.
One other thing to point out, we're not going to be touching the service lines. We're going to be looking up the service lines. The service lines on private property. So if there's a problem on the service line, right. So just want to make sure the residents don't understand that.
Yeah,
okay.
That's great. All right, other questions? Good work.
We just want to give the board of context. We
appreciate it.
Numbers. This is kind of the effort we've been trying to go through to get as accurate numbers as we can to put in the capital.
Being proactive. That's just no, I love it. There.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nagel.
Staff reports.
Are we gonna do you guys want to update? Do you want to say anything about the CIP since you're here?
Did you hand any of that out?
I don't know that if it ended up in the board packet or not. Forgive me.
That's okay. I've got copies. If okay if I hand them?
Yeah, of course you can.
All right. I'm not gonna hand anything out I'm not supposed to.
You're good to go.
All right. This just a real quick update. We met last month to talk about split our costs up a little bit. It was trying to save some money.
Good. Oh, thank you.
And I'll give you guys. Actually, I think I brought one for everybody.
I got it. You keep talking.
Okay. So we split it up into 4 different cost estimates. I think we're trying to save some money. We already discussed the pilot plant. That's on the first page. That's item number 1. The new primary clarifiers is about $4.5 million. Now we've got a 30% contingency on that, so you could probably add another $1.5 million onto that. That is an estimate right now pending the pilot studies. But if you look at the total cost on just this treatment plan on the first page, it's about $60 million. So the primary clarifier is about, like I mentioned, about 10% of the work. So I think we've got time to decide what we want to do with those. I know Wendy and I have talked a little bit about schedule, and it's obviously dependent on a lot of different things, but if we get started sometime this summer, say summer, it's probably an 18-month design period, and then it's about a 30-month construction period. So during the 18 months, by the time we've got answers on the plate settlers, and if you recall in November, I mentioned about the tube settlers that had an accident, and they hope to have that back in operation in March. So we got time to make some decisions. That's all I'm mentioning. Second page is office maintenance buildings, and I had a little discussion with Chris tonight. This is probably the area that's got a lot of movement in it.
Yeah.
Still. And I think there's still a lot of deciding what we want to do here. For example, we've got the office admin building, operations, lab, engineering. The lab, if we do the plate settlers, for example, we probably don't need to move the lab.
Right.
So there's some savings here as well. The third page is the storm sewer, and I think Jenny with Christopher Burke's taking care of most of that. You'll notice the Lafayette Barkers on there that you guys have already been talking about. And then the last page is the refuse. And again, Chris and I were talking a little bit about that with Nathan and I. And there may be some savings here as well. So
Mike, rough that's 95 million total.
You're in the 95 to 100 million, yeah.
Okay. Just some feedback. And obviously our effort is going to be to scrutinize this and drive this down
Yes.
if possible.
And that's why I went ahead and we agreed to start breaking it down a little bit differently. So as we
Yeah,
look at how the
thank you.
revenues come together, particularly refuse, and
Yep.
because it's funded separately,
Yep.
that we don't go any further than we need to, but we're able to be more nimble depending on how those decisions
Yeah, we
are
don't,
made.
we want to be looking at apples and apples.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that we can decide, because obviously when you do a rate increase, or however those rates do need to go into the actual operations, whereas refuse is handled by.
Yeah, this is one of those buckets I was talking about.
And this is one of the buckets. And
There's
I
four
really
buckets there.
appreciate you, and if I didn't share that properly, because we got to talking about it, but I also talked to Buzz, who was here earlier, about,
Yep.
and he kind of recommended we break it out this way too, as we go forward and look at how we do our increases, so
Well,
that we're always
this is
clear.
absorbable. I can,
You can
in a
get
few
through
minutes, I get a pretty deal.
Yeah. And so I think this was, and I really appreciate you doing it. And to speak to the Lafayette Barker, it is part of the long range plan, it is part of the capital improvement plan. If we can find a great way to fund it before then, we will. If not, it's definitely in the total plan. So it's broken out. So that may help us support we're down. I hope so.
Yeah, I've also got to listen in here. I asked the SCADA system question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got 800 grand in here for that.
Yep.
So 41,000 tonight is going to be
Well, it's
part of that.
2 million.
2.1.
Oh, excuse me, I used the wrong line.
Your eye shifted.
You're in the wrong.
You're in the wrong sub bucket. You're in the wrong sub
I'm
bucket.
in the new single lane bridge for a golf cart. Okay, well.
Yeah, and so working on that too, and then as some of the other elements like we talked about with the sewer lining and even the lift station work that's being finished, that will then be incorporated as well as its own buckets, so that we know exactly what's going where. And this was really good work. I appreciate you guys taking the time to break it out for us.
You're welcome. So we'll be continuing the discussions and always looking for ways to save money.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Just
Please.
last, I don't want anybody to
No,
think
no,
that
please, go.
I don't want anybody to think that the SCADA proposal you already approved would go to waste.
Yeah.
In any way, form, or fashion, it would be complementary to what
I
what you
assumed
see
it
number.
was, so I figured this was the capital side.
I don't want anybody to confuse that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I guess the other thing I'll say real quick is, we were talking about it, as I've learned too, right? So we got the cloth medium, we got the plate settlers, and we got the tube settlers, and we're looking at all these great ways to see if we can extend the primary clarifiers. And one of the reasons we've gone through so many of those is many of those folks, it's new technologies, and they offered it for free. So it was our way of trying to look to the future and say, is there a better system? So we can honestly, as we go out and we look at folks, and I got this from a conversation with Rhonda and Dan and Nathan, is no doubt we've looked at everything. And so there's no new technology that has been forsaken or forgotten. And so then we are being as comprehensive as possible when the recommendation goes forward. So that's the rationale.
Fair.
So,
Okay.
any questions?
Thank you.
We're good?
Thank you for coming, as always. Again, appreciate you guys being present. It always helps.
Sure.
Right, Director of Public Works.
Yeah, just a couple of, quick updates is we talked a little bit about earlier, you approved our, agree that we want to update our terms and conditions of our contracts. I think that's just really good work. We heard earlier about talking about, implementing purchase orders. That's something that actually Rachel brought up not long ago, and so we'll be continuing to look at those process improvements. Our 300 North Lift Station sewer project out in the county is moving forward. There was a little bit of back and forth, but the IDEM permit will be going in if it hasn't already. So we're making good progress with them. There was some back and forth with IDEM, but the conversations and the progress is moving. I think that's really important. I think given just the overall purview of this board, probably, we've got a new format here. Think it's going to work out really well. Looking for feedback on that. And may start to include more specific refuse updates, since it does fall under the purview of the board. We kind of touch on it here
At
and
least
there.
a high level, because that's
High level. We don't,
It's a great public interest. So
It is, and that's really good. So we can continue to do that. Obviously, the folks in the refuse department are working very hard, and it's a top priority of the mayor. But we may add that just as something where we can keep a tick on it and be able to provide an update. And we do appreciate the board approving the budget and in December. That was awesome. It was teamwork, including the new positions that we've recommended. And we are happy to report that we have recommendations to the mayor for all 3 of those positions. And we'll look forward to filling you in more by the next meeting. And we're feeling really solid about how we're going forward with our long-term succession planning, as well as our capital improvement, and how do we just make the overall organization more accountable, more visible, and functioning at a much higher level. Thank you to all of our consultants who help us with that every day. And that's it from me.
And let's search for talent. So,
yeah.
Any questions for Director of Public Works? All right. It's Water Reclamation Superintendent. Excuse me. It wasn't that hard to say, was it?
So the December report is in your packet, but what's not in your packet is that December was pretty routine, uneventful until December 29th, when we received a letter from OSHA. And it listed allegations that we were required to respond to within 5 business days. And before I get into more detail, I want to thank Al and Chris and Joe Plunk for providing pictures and documentation, drawings, so that we could properly answer these questions. So the first allegation that we had to respond to was that we did not have a separate women's restroom in the collection refuge building. OSHA requires that we have 1 restroom for every 15 employees of the same sex. We have 12 restrooms here at the plant. 4 are for women only, 4 are for men only, and 4 are unisex restrooms. And that is for our 70 employees, 15 of whom are women, far exceeding the number of restrooms that we are required to have.
If I was a guy, I'd be arguing, hey, what's the deal?
We still have more than we're required to have, even for men. So specific to the complaint, thanks to Al, who provided me with the drawing, I submitted an overlay of the collection refuge building, an architectural drawing showing the location of the women's only restroom in that building for the 3 women who work in the collection refuge building. And I also indicated that it was a mere 100 feet from the women's restroom in this building. So we have the restroom. We have what we're required to have. The second allegation was that we didn't provide PPE or personal protective equipment. So I submitted and highlighted the section of the salary resolution that talks about the clothing allowance that employees receive, and indicated that with the clothing allowance, employees are able to purchase steel-toed boots and high visibility clothing. In addition, and thanks to Chris for the picture that he provided for me that I included in the response, we have a vending machine from which employees can obtain PPE using their issue card at no cost to them. We also provide hard hats, safety glasses, earplugs, personal gas monitors when needed, lab coats, and rain gear. And the final allegation, the third allegation, was that employees smell sulfur dioxide in the press building. So I explained in the response that there is a sulfur dioxide tank in the gas storage building, and the sulfur dioxide feeder is in the press building. But the only time there's a connection between the tank and the feeder is when an overflow of the stormwater basin is imminent, and that has not occurred since 2018. Even when we operate the feeders, they operate under a safe vacuum system that prevents escape of sulfur dioxide gas to the atmosphere in case of leak. In addition, we have gas leak detectors in the press building, And we check for hazardous gases anytime an employee reports the smell of a suspected hazardous gas. So that response was submitted to OSHA on the January 5th due date. And then on January 7th, we got another letter from OSHA. So, it was again alleged that we didn't provide PPE. So I copied and pasted the response from the previous letter. It was also alleged that we did not provide safety training. So thanks to Joe Plunk, he provided documentation of all the safety training that was provided from 2013 through 2024. And then Al provided documentation of training that occurred in 2025. And then also I personally arranged some of the safety training in 2025. It was once again alleged that there was leaking SO2 in the press building, so I copied and pasted the response from the first letter. It was alleged that raw sewage was backing up into the press building, and I explained in the response that the only material from the treatment plant waste stream that entered the press building was digested sludge, where it is dewatered by the press. Overflow, filtrate, and bypass from the belt press is contained and flows through a floor drain and is returned to the head of the plant for treatment. There's absolutely no path, no piping for raw sewage to back up in the press building. Another allegation was that the lab ceiling was collapsing and being held up by floor jacks. And thanks to Chris, who provided me with the repair agreement between the contractor and the sanitary district, and also the invoices indicating that that work had been completed and this issue was resolved well over a year ago. Finally, it was alleged that company vehicles were unsafe. And I responded that the sanitary district vehicle policy requires that employees conduct pre-trip and post-trip inspections before and after each use and prohibits employees from driving vehicles that are not in safe operating condition. Thanks to Andy Mechanic, who provided me with the vehicle inspection checklist and documentation that there were over 3,000 documented vehicle inspections in 2025. And I further explained that in section 4.9.1 and 4.9.2 of our employee handbook, it directs employees to notify management verbally and or in writing of any safety hazards that they observe while they're working, and that of all the allegations that were made in the first letter and in the second letter, they were never reported to management or they have been reported and properly addressed. The second response was submitted by the January 14th due date, and so far we haven't had any other correspondence from OSHA, and if we do, I will provide you with an update.
So, questions from the board, I have a couple, so.
Go ahead. Please go ahead.
So, one is the source of the complaint an employee, or
I don't know.
do we know? OSHA reveal that or not?
No, they will not.
Okay, I was just curious.
Mhm.
Source, and so obviously somebody has some concern that is voicing it some way, and so I appreciate your response. It seems like you did great due diligence relative to addressing the issues. The one that raised my eye the most, or my sensitivity, was the sulfur dioxide. And so and you address that in terms of we have monitors in place, And go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's physically impossible for sulfur dioxide to be in the atmosphere in the press building if we're not feeding it. We haven't fed sulfur dioxide in that building since 2018.
Okay. Thank you. And if, when you do that, do you evacuate the building? What do you do?
When we do, so it's fed by a vacuum system.
So
if there's a leak, it just automatically shuts down. We have leak.
Okay. So it's a shutdown system.
And we have leak detectors
Yes,
in the building.
okay.
So if there was a problem, alarm would go off, and we would know it immediately.
Do you hear back from OSHA saying that your answers are acceptable?
I have not heard back from them.
But you will though. Do you hear back?
I hope so.
Hope so. Okay.
Well, if not, I mean, you will get a response, whether it's
I would hope so.
supportive or not.
I haven't
Yes.
seen one of these yet.
Okay.
So
All right. Any other questions? So I appreciate the update. And also, thank you for bringing that to the commission. We need to know those types of issues for sure. And is there been any relative to that? Is there anything in the press or anything, or social media or that kind of stuff?
Not that I've seen.
Just curious. Okay. Well, thank you. So, anything else from the superintendent?
That's it.
That's plenty. So, engineering?
We just want to let you know in the electronic board packet there are two really cool engineering fact sheets we included, but there's no need to talk about them.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
But they're very cool, and they're just for you guys.
I love it. Okay, thank you. Miscellaneous updates. We have insurance and other stuff.
A couple from Chris.
I'll take that, yes. So we had our High Street Insurance, who our new company is, who was previously General Insurance, is a name change, company change. We have our semi-annual underwriter has to come here, which the underwriter is Travelers Insurance that covers all our properties. I met with, on January 27th, Trish Brockway from the Risk Control Consultants, gave her a complete tour of the plant, showed her all our safety equipment, showed her all our locations throughout the plant, our vehicles, a complete assessment that she presented. Then she came back with a positive risk control practices that she was very happy with what we do here presently at the department, but she actually accelerated the accident reporting policies and practices that we have initialized here within our throughout the whole sanitary area. And in fact, we presented to the city, which they are probably going to adopt into the city policy. Mm-hmm. But it is a regular reporting where you report to the police, accident versus incident. We've talked about this in previous meetings and kind of addressed that. So she was very impressed with that. Her recommendation, it would be a training to include post-accident training to require spotters for our accidents, because in the history, we've had a lot of rear backing into things. So that's kind of her suggestion.
Is that a technology thing?
Exactly.
Video kind of?
So a spotter person that's actually backing up the truck. Our trucks are quite large. Our pumper truck are,
I understand.
And back trucks are large, so it is very difficult to get them maneuvered. So they definitely suggest that, and then safety awareness classes for our employees when it comes to that backing and working those trucks. Otherwise, that's it on that. We passed flying colors, I believe, and that report will be coming through to General Insurance to continue on.
I think it's an affirmation of our leadership and your good work. So thank you all and all your employees. So it's, I can't say enough about safety and preventing accidents. So, anything else on insurance or uniform or annual contract, those things?
Yes, we do have an annual contract where we have employees that receive a $500 allotment every year for their clothing. And we've used, prior to this year, we used a company out in Indianapolis, which we weren't totally happy with. They have reinvented their process down there and sold it to a company called MES, which has given us a current bid. We've had Cintas Corporation do this 2025. We weren't happy with a lot of their work, so we're looking into other alternatives. We have another Wildman Uniforms that's giving us a promotion or presentation also to see what we might go with that. So we are going to put it on hold for at least a month so we can decide which way we're going to go with this. And it'll be a catalog type of process where they can purchase from a catalog, and we'll then dictate what the catalog looks like, and which includes safety gear, as Rhonda talked about, and boots, etc.
Thank you. Wonderful. So, and when, is that part of that annual contract renewal?
That's something for that I was gonna speak to.
Oh, excuse me.
No, that's okay.
I'm just working the agenda.
No, you're good. We're almost done. Thank you, Chris. One of the things we were talking about just is getting into a groove for our service contracts and to review them every December and just go ahead and review them and review all the contracts, update them all at once for the year. If we have general terms and condition changes, we do that then. Obviously, projects are on project schedules. But we just thought it might be another good practice, and so we'll be moving toward that so that every year we know what's coming up, and then we adjust as we need to if we have things come out of line. So that's just a suggestion about how we go forward.
Well, yeah, my suggestion would be that perhaps thinking about what month you do it in, not necessarily at the very end of the year, maybe a month in advance or something like that, so we're not in this end of year rush.
Okay,
To try
maybe
to get
fourth quarter.
done. So whatever it is, or the routine is board, and I'm just suggesting a little thought into when it's done.
Great. We'll take a look at that. Thank you. That's it.
All right. Well, thank you. Unless any other questions? No. How about board discussion? Anything left there? Yeah, I think we've discussed about everything tonight. So it was supposed to be a short meeting, but I do want to thank the board specifically and the leadership that we've had here and the audience too, by the way, in terms of this is important stuff and it's not a small spend and it does have to do with public safety and also quality of life in our community, and our whole economy is based on having really good infrastructure in place, and it takes leadership and hard work to get it done. So congratulations to all you. I thought 2025 went very well. I'm anticipating that 2026 will do so also, and appreciate our new leadership here on the board too. So Tina and Andy, thank you. So of course that's not new for you, Andy, but thank you. And I'll have entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
All right, thank you.